Hey, Peter, thanks for using Racers 360. It's Dion here. Excited to be working with you. Appreciate the patience and understanding just with travel schedules. I wanted to make sure I was clear when I got back to this and could spend the right amount of time working with you here. So ultimately, the number one thing I'm going to focus in on initially is where you're picking up your initial throttle application. Getting the right spot for that is one of the fundamentals of driving a race car well, safely, and fast. We need to get that working first before we can work on trail braking or anything at a higher level concept. So let's work through this in turn one and then talk about why we need to delay it most of the time. So we're coming in, we're going to start braking, we're braking, hard brakes, hard brakes, hard brakes, hard brakes, hard brakes, start to release off the brake pressure. Then you can see here, we're really quick off the brakes just at turn-in, and then immediately we're starting to add a little bit of throttle in. We start to get back to significant throttle here, and then we're almost back to full throttle right about here. What that's showing me is that we're way under driving the entry of corners. Good technique is only picking up initial throttle application as we're ready to unwind the steering wheel. So you can see back in here, we are still carving down to the apex. Your body, your hands, you're asking for front grip. But at that same moment, your feet are taking away front grip. And it's very true if you've heard before that we steer a car with our feet more than our hands. So here's ideally, I'm still braking at this point, and I'm braking and I'm braking a little bit of coast, and then here's my initial throttle application. If you're coasting after entry, I'm totally okay with this. So what I want you to work on is building the discipline in your mind that says, I am not allowed to get to throttle until I am ready to unwind the steering wheel. So when we come in, I'm going to coast, I'm going to coast, I'm going to coast, I'm going to coast. Here's my throttle, and I'm back to full throttle here. What's going to happen is initially it's going to cause us to take one step backwards in terms of overall lap time, but it's going to allow us to take a massive step, like 10 steps forward as we get this right. Because what we're doing here is your mind is telling you, hey, I've overslowed, let me pick up the throttle. But as we've talked about, we're creating a bad habit here. So instead, we're going to take a step backwards, and we need to clear out that bad habit, because then what your mind's going to say is, hey, I've overslowed. You're going to be like, I'm not allowed to get throttle, which is going to force your brain to look for another way to solve this problem. The only other way to solve this problem is by looking at the brake release and spending less time at heavy brake pressure. So first step, the most important step that we're really focused in on for right now is delaying your initial throttle application. But as you start to do that, you're going to feel really slow on track. And I want that as a good thing, because then here, where I should be looking for the apex, you're going to start to work on coming off of that brake pressure, off of it nice and slowly earlier in the brake. So coasting, 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 that's going to mean you're going to have more entry speed. So you might be able to roll, 65 miles an hour to this point. I'm making up a number. I'm not sure what that limit is. And then get aggressively back to throttle and get just as good, if not a better exit with more entry speed. So the critical thing that we focus in on here is delaying your initial throttle application. The next thing is we spend a lot of time kind of at like very little amount of throttle or just coasting. So you can see coming into this next section here, we kind of have this, oops, that went back a little bit too far. We have this slow release off the throttle. We're on partial throttle, partial throttle, partial throttle, and then we're off of it essentially. I think the pedals doesn't quite show fully off of it. I never want to approach a brake zone and have this like slow release of the throttle. I want to approach a brake zone and be full throttle, full throttle, full throttle, full throttle, off of it, brake. So here, what I'd like to see you do is try to hold that full throttle a little bit longer into the corner, and then have a full lift earlier if you need, and then brake. So if I were to draw what this looks like on data, where if this up here is 100% throttle and this down here is 0% throttle, you sort of arrive, or let's use orange for what you do, you sort of arrive and we kind of have this like slow release, and then we're like kind of 20%, and then we're off down to 0%. That's never what we want to see. I would much rather see 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%, 100% full lift, and then braking. So think to yourself, we want to spend as little amount of time as possible on maintenance throttle or small amounts of throttle. And so I'm going to spend maybe less time on throttle than you around this lap, but I'm going to spend a lot more time at full throttle. So that's going to allow you to roll more speed in here, and then brake, 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 coming off the brakes, off the brakes, off the brakes. Once again, see how you're back to throttle already, creeping in. This is where our throttle should start to come in. So I'm going to roll more entry speed to this point. Bam. And I'm going to try to be working it back. Full throttle, full throttle, full throttle, full throttle. And then once again, we don't want to be on maintenance throttle, full throttle, and then maybe off of it. Lift. Nice. Square to full throttle again, then brake. Brake, brake, brake. Off, off. See how you're back? Look how aggressively we get back to throttle right here. Aggressively back to throttle. To the point where we're full throttle before the apex is even here, which shows me, hey, we are really underdriving the entry. So I think we can get back to full throttle, full throttle, full throttle, full throttle, maybe a little bit of coast, maybe back to full throttle for a squirt, then braking, 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 coast, 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 throttle comes here, full throttle. That means you're going to be able to roll a lot more entry speed in there. Every time you get the throttle earlier than the apex, you know you've overslowed the corner. We really need to build that discipline so we can work on overslowing the car in the correct way, which is, again, that brake zone. Coming in here, once again, see how let me back this up a little bit. So we're getting our exit, We're lifting here. We should be flat right now. This left-hander, flat, 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 flat. Instead, you kind of lift, you brake back in here, and you're already back to throttle. Already back to throttle, already back to full throttle before the apex is even here. So instead, wait, patient, bam, full throttle, 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 a little bit of brake. I'm going to be at probably 75 miles an hour right now because I kept that full throttle. Then I'm braking, I'm braking, I'm braking, I'm braking, and I might get down to the same apex speed as you at 62 miles an hour, and I might be back to full throttle at the same point. But you can see how I was able to roll so much more speed on entry because of that. Once again, coming out wide. See how here we're very just a little inconsistent with the throttle here. Eyes up, bam, back to full throttle, full throttle. Right here, we shouldn't have any reason to need to lift right now. It could be because what I'm guessing happened here is that early throttle induced the understeer, and we're having to lift because you feel like you're going to run out of track on exit, which is another negative kind of the main negative to getting back to that throttle too early here. So we want to avoid this lift here on exit. Bam, full throttle, full throttle, full throttle, full throttle. Coming in, full, 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 full. Why are we lifting right here? Full, 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 full. Then brake. See how there we had this like lift and coast into the brake zone, a long coast, a long coast. I'd much rather see you full throttle and brake earlier if you have to. Don't lift and coast into the brake zone. Driving a race car is not a lazy activity, and that's very much a lazy thing there. And what ends up happening is when we coast into it, so driving a race car is all about weight transfer, and it's all about having the weight somewhere. When we coast into a corner like this, it's kind of like the weight gets lost in the middle of the car, and we don't have full efficiency. And I think if you had kept full throttle and brake maybe a little bit earlier, but maybe at the same speed, then hit the brakes, you wouldn't have missed this apex. But instead, we kind of just had the weight in the middle of nowhere. We kind of just missed this apex, and we got back to throttle too early here, which is causing us to understeer. So all in all, you can see how consistently we're talking about not lifting into the brake zone and not picking up the throttle too early. Bam, use the road on exit. Get out there. Let the car be free on exit here. Going to the last little bit. See how, again, we're coasting for so long. Then a little bit of brakes, then braking, 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 off, wait. Already back to throttle. Wait, 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 wait. Go, 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 go. That's what's going to give you that momentum. So now to talk a little bit about that incident. It's funny. I watched this and I couldn't find what you're talking about because to me this just looks like a totally normal pass. And I think as you get more comfortable on the racetrack, you'll be totally fine with this. This is great. The car, you're alongside the car. He eventually lifts. You break down the inside of the track. Your turn-in's really solid. Yes, we're still early to throttle, but this is totally normal here. I would say, I think just with experience, you'll get more comfortable with this, but I wouldn't have changed anything with this. I wouldn't change anything with this approach. I just think you'll get more comfortable with more experience here because that was a good overtake. Bam, back down to it. Go, 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 go. I know in HBD, sometimes they have rules on overtaking, and every club is different, and I don't want to guess your club's rules. I'm guessing they don't like overtaking in the corner, but I don't think you did that. I think that you did that in a straight line. Looks like a good overtake to me. I wouldn't change a thing. I just think with experience, you'll get more comfortable with that. But as always, let me know if you have any questions. We're always here for you at Racers 360. We're excited to be part of your motorsports journey. Let's get that throttle fixed first, and then we're going to go into much more detail on brake zones and things like that. But we need to get our throttle spot figured out first before we can get into some of the higher level techniques. So best of luck. If we can do anything else for you, please let us know.